Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. It is August 31st, 2024. This is episode 265. And unbeknownst to you, my beautiful audience, this is actually the second time I am recording this very episode. And I cannot even begin to tell you how annoyed I am at this fact. If this is your first time joining me, though, I am a stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser, and I am following my dreams and documenting my journey as I do so and sharing the wisdom and tidbits of information that I am learning as I pursue this crazy dream with all its ups and downs. And, my hopes and ambitions are simple, that maybe somebody listened to this might gain a little inspiration, maybe a little insight, or maybe just pique your curiosity into the world of a stand-up comedian and an actor, especially one that is not yet famous, because it is very different on this side of the fence from fame. I will tell you what. So, first of all, let me tell you why I'm annoyed, because what had happened was it's almost 3 a.m. in the morning that I am recording this, because I was hanging out at my girlfriend's house and I left her house at about maybe 2 in the morning, and I was thinking, man, I am dead exhausted. I am ready just to go home and go to sleep, but I have not filmed or recorded my podcast episode yet. So I had this genius idea. I'm like, well, it's going to be 2 in the morning. The roads are going to be clear and empty. Why don't I just record this episode while I'm driving home? And my genius idea was, I'll put in my Bluetooth headset and connect my Bluetooth to my recorder so that I will be recording the audio directly onto my phone from my Bluetooth. That way I won't get a lot of car background noise, and it'll be easier to enhance the audio and all of that fun stuff. So I was like, hey, that's a genius idea, Paul. It's like, hey, thanks, Paul. Appreciate the kind words. So that's what I do. I drive home. I record the episode. The episode is about 29 minutes long. So I talked for a little while. My standard episode length is about 20 minutes, so, 29 minutes is, I talked a little longer than usual. I don't ever really have a plan when I record these podcasts. I just hit record and just start talking whatever comes out my mouth. I was going to say the A word, but I decided to forego profanity. So that's what I do. I record the whole car ride home. I was really enjoying what I was talking about. I was having a good time. I go home, and then I play the recording back, and it is muffled beyond recognition, like unusable. And I have this Adobe podcast enhancement software. I try to run it through that. I'm like, please just be a miracle. And honestly, it made it worse. Just made it sound like incomprehensible gibberish. So I now get to recreate the magic of my first recording, a recording that no one will now ever hear. It'll just get lost in the annals of history, never to be heard, never to be comprehended. So let me recap the recap. So yesterday was actually a really good day in terms of me pursuing my dreams as a comedian and an actor. So the first cool thing that happened is I had a lunch with a couple of comedians. Some I knew, some I did not. I was invited by my comedian partner, Josh Novi, and it was just really cool. It was just cool to be around comedians. They were talking about producing a show, and they just, I don't know, I just love comedians. They just had that energy of, it's so hard to get anything done because we're constantly just riffing and throwing bits at each other, just as comedians do. So I have lunch with them. It's fun. And then I have to go immediately to Scottsdale, Arizona, because I had a callback. And the callback, I can't really talk about it. Okay, I've signed an NDA. I say that kind of facetiously, but it's true. You have to be a little cautious when you're auditioning for stuff about not talking about the projects before they are released. But it was just so cool to be able to get to go do an in-person audition and to have a callback. A callback, for those of you who do not know, is how the auditioning process works as an actor. Is you do your initial audition. Now, since COVID, pretty much all initial auditions have gone to self-tape. So I submitted the self-tape for this audition about a week ago, and I submitted it. I forgot about it, which is usually the case. I've just done so many of those, and you just throw those self-tape auditions out into the world, and you just have no idea. You never have any idea if it was good or if it's what they're looking for, if they like your look or anything. And so just to get a call back is just a huge blessing. And I'm just going to take a little side note here. If you're out there pursuing a dream, there's going to be so many setbacks and so many discouraging experiences. And so I am a big fan of when something good happens, just be grateful that something good happened. And, maybe it isn't the big break you were looking for or the big turn of events, but anything good that happens while you're pursuing your dream, at least have an attitude of gratitude and just be like, you want to know what? That was really cool. And I am grateful that I have an agent who submits me relentlessly, and that I get these auditions, and that sometimes they want to see me again and I get to go do a callback. So who knows? At this point, again, it's the same thing as before. I just do the callback and then I forget it, and it's out of my hands now. They're going to choose who they're going to choose, and if it's me, cool. If not, no worries, on to the next. So anyway, so I go to this callback. I had so much fun. It's just so much fun for me to be able to step into these casting rooms. There was just two dudes in there, the casting director and the director, and they just, just gave me some direction and then just said, action. And I just love being able to create in those environments and to, just act. I'm just being an actor. And sure, it's this kind of small commercial role, but I'm in that room, and how cool is that I am in a position to be able to do that. So something I do not take for granted. I just was very grateful to be there. I had a blast. It was really quick. I was probably in the room maybe 4 to 5 minutes tops. I just walked in. They did a quick slate. They had me do the commercial was more of an act out. There wasn't any lines or dialogue, so I just did the quick act out. The director said, "Hey, that was really great." And then he said, "Let's try it again," and did it again. And then the director said, "Hey, that was really great." And I could tell that he meant it. Like, there was a good energy in his voice of like, cool, this kid's all right. So we'll see. You never know. So then after the callback, I later that night, I went and got my gym on. And then after the gym, I had yet another really cool experience, all in the going for my dreams genre. And what that was is I had an opportunity to do a table read for a sitcom that I have been cast in. It is with a kind of a smaller independent production company. They are predominantly right now an online like social media production company, but they are looking to start trying to get some projects to a point to where they could shop them to major networks. Now, for those of you who followed the podcast, you just heard me say I read for a sitcom pilot. I did that last night. And that is just so huge because 9 years ago, when I first really articulated out loud that I had a dream of being on a sitcom, that was in 2015. And it took 9 years, but here I am. I am cast. I am their guy. And what had actually happened, so the story is just so random, or seemingly random. So how I even got involved with this production company in the first place was because last year, I responded to this casting notification. What's even more rare about that is I literally get hundreds of casting notifications because I'm in all of these casting services that are just littered with production projects, and all of these production projects are looking for actors, and so they put their projects up on these websites, and then the websites send out these email notifications to all of their user bases saying, hey, this person has a project, they're looking for actors, these are the type of characters they're looking for, the type of demographics, age, all of that stuff, right? And then we as actors, our inbox just gets filled up. I literally get hundreds of these a day. And then if we're interested or we think that we might be a good fit for the project, then we submit to the notification. And then the casting directors look at everybody who submitted. And then from there, they can request an audition. So again, I get hundreds of those emails every day. And I scan through them. And I rarely respond to anything because most of the projects are garbage. A lot of them are looking for background actors. They're not like this isn't like Warner Brothers sending out these notifications. It's not HBO. If it is HBO, it's HBO going, we need 1,000 background actors to go sit in a football stadium for 17 hours for minimum wage. Do you want to come do that? Right? But every once in a while, there are these independent projects or shorter films or shorter projects that I feel would be beneficial to me or that just seem fun and exciting. So early last year, I get this email notification again in a sea of hundreds that was looking to cast like a sketch comedy. They were looking for like sketch comedy actors. I was like, oh, a sketch comedy thing. That sounds fun. Sounds up my alley. So I replied, or I submitted, and which again was random enough as it was. And then even more random is they actually got back to me, which is even more rare. And then they set up a virtual audition because I was in Arizona at the time, but and this was all happening in LA. But they set up a virtual audition. I did the audition and I booked it. And to be perfectly honest, at that time, I didn't even know what it was. I seriously didn't really understand who this production company is, what this show was, what the scope is, what the distribution was going to look like. Honestly, I was just excited to be auditioning and to do a script and to have a character, and the people all seemed to really like me and think I was funny. I'm like, hey, you want to know what? Just tell me I'm pretty and I'll do whatever you want, So anyway, they tell me I'm pretty. So I booked this sketch comedy acting gig, and next thing I know, I'm heading out to LA for a couple of days to film 6 episodes. And what they were all ended up being was the concept is like 4 people who have like a different point of view or are from different generations are all watching whatever the culturally relevant TV or movie is, and then they just sort of argue and debate about whether it's good or not. It's a really fun idea. And so we film all these episodes, and they all just got released a couple months ago. It's called Sketched Out. You can Google it on YouTube. And the sketches turned out all right. I didn't think they turned out great, but, and it's also very clear that like the production quality is definitely more of like an indie production company. It was very clear that this was not filmed, on the sound stages at Paramount or Warner Brothers. But they did a good job. They put a ton of work into producing these. So what ends up happening is the main writer looked at these sketches and said, we're happy with this, but it's not as good as we had hoped, and the response isn't as great as we had hoped. And after she took a look at it, she said, I actually feel like these 4 characters are better suited in like a traditional sitcom format. So she writes a sitcom pilot and gets all of us together last night to read this pilot. And it was really funny. She did a great job. There's still a lot of work to be done, but she ain't messing around. And she just said, hey, here's reality. I really think this is a great sitcom. I think the standard sitcom is coming back after, streaming services kind of messed everything up. But we're seeing all of these production companies and entertainment companies go back to just the old standard model of we're going to put on a TV show and we're going to put ads in it. And that's how we're going to make our money. And that's what people want to watch anyway. So she's very ambitious, and she wants to get together and film up this pilot and then go shop it to major networks. And I got to tell you, she's the type of person who can make it happen. And you never know with these types of situations. But guys, 9 years ago, I was living in Arizona. I had done almost no acting my entire life. I was 33 or 34 years old, was working for a software company. I had like 1 year of stand-up comedy under my belt. I did have good 7 years of improv comedy under my belt, but I didn't know anybody in LA. I didn't have any connections. The next thing I know, I'm moving to LA. And then ironically enough, when I'm back in Arizona, I book a sitcom in LA, and it's happening. And who knows? Again, who knows if it'll actually happen? But again, celebrate the little wins. Just celebrate the little wins, everybody. And be happy, be excited when those things happen, and just allow yourself to be happy about it. I just think that's so important. Life is hard enough. There's enough grief out there. There's enough things that are going to go wrong and enough challenges that when something kind of goes right, just embrace it, enjoy it, be grateful for it. And yesterday was just a great day. And there's a little bit of a calm before the storm here, because starting next week, things are about to get crazy, because I'm going to be heading back out to LA. I've got 5 nights at the Magic Castle, and then the next night I will be heading down to San Diego to feature a comedy show. Then I got to come back to Phoenix, and then on the 10th I have a private show. I think I'm free on the 11th. On the 12th, I have a show at JP's in Gilbert. On the 13th, I am then going to be in Iowa, and I got a show in Iowa on the 13th and the 14th. So next week, I am going to be in LA, San Diego, Phoenix, and Iowa, all within a week. Yes. But I'm living my dreams, everybody, and I am loving it. Okay, so now, usually what I do at this time is I commentate on one of the laws of power. And by the way, on the first recording I did, I gave a whole synopsis on today's chapter. but it is now past 3 a.m, and I'm really exhausted, and I just don't have the energy to try to do that again. But I guarantee you, my take was dead on, and I just changed the world with my analysis of today's law of power. So I will do that tomorrow. But for now, I need to get some rest because I got to get plenty of rest this weekend because I've got such a big week coming up. All right, everybody. That's all for me today. Celebrate the wins, everybody. Go out there, pursue your dreams, live a life that's fulfilling and meaningful to you. And I hope it's going well. I love you all so much. This is episode 265, August 31st, 2024, of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all. I'll talk to you tomorrow.